and welcome back to OBTV, live from the Old Baker Studios here in Truro. It is our International Women's Day special show tonight, and I'm joined by the wonderful Sarah Gosling.
Thank you very much. I am chuffed to bits to be co-hosting this, as you can tell from what's happening behind, very low-key OBTV episode. We have amazing performances on the way for you from the likes of the Eyelids, Hockey Smith and the glorious Ezmay Grace.
We'll also be talking with Sheila Vanloo about her experience working within the music industry.
Absolutely, we have a cracking chat with her, but right now, let's get into it, shall we? If you need proper gig energy, these guys fully brought their A-game for you on OBTV, The Eyelids.
The music industry is still pretty male dominated, really, you know, the music that's coming out, but also the people that work behind the scenes, you know, the labels and everything. I don't know if it's like probably 85% still male dominated, I guess. So, you know, there's still a lot of work to be done.
This is very fun. The tables have turneth. I'm interviewing the presenter of OBTV, Em Marcovecchio, and of course, the glorious legend in the game, Sheila Vanloo's Reviews. And we wanted to talk a bit first, Em, because of course this is our IWD special, looking at amazing women, and you just happen to have a podcast called Noisy Women. You do so much. I don't know how you have time to do it, but I have had the pleasure of being a guest on it, so I know a little bit about what's going on. Why did you decide to start Noisy Women?
So Noisy Women is a podcast. I kind of started it because I was sick of people making comments about the fact that I was a woman working in the music industry. I'm a photographer by trade, live music photographer, go on tour before COVID. And I just used to get really nasty comments by middle-aged blokes, and I kind of got a bit sick of it. So I thought, oh, it used to be under a different name. I used to have a video series called A Conversation With, and that kind of became the birthplace of the podcast. And it's always been talking to friends of mine who are women working in the music industry, and then it's kind of turned to friends of friends and mutual friends, and it's kind of like going further afield.
Yeah.
Taking the world by storm.
Blossomed, spilled over. And what I'm already loving is that, as you were saying that, Sheila and I were like, ah.
and the eye roll.
The eye rolls. It's because we all know exactly what's going on, but for some reason, and this is changing, even women in music rarely talk about what it's like to be a woman in music with each other, because it is often a bit depressing and a bit like, really? Are we still having to deal with this? And I know these have been conversations that you've had on your podcast, and I do it a bit on mine as well, but we were chatting before we started rolling about kind of an awful lot of conversations that have happened. There have been a big kind of BBC Three documentary recently, which I know you want to chat about, Sheila, and I was a part of a piece on Me Too in the music industry a while back as well, with Aluna Francis and self-esteem, and there were some kind of shocking revelations in that. And we will be looking at happy things, obviously, but there is some stuff to go through. So Sheila, how, as someone who has been in the music industry, you know, running stuff themselves and filling spaces that needed to be filled for 50 years, how do you feel things are now as women in music compared maybe to what you've seen before?
Well, until I saw the BBC documentary, I thought things had come a very long way, and they still have. And I was pleased about that, because I thought it was easier for women to get into the music business, but as Em's just said, you know, there are still comments going on. I experienced that kind of thing when I was radio station manager in St Austell. And then I saw the BBC Three documentary this week, and I was absolutely horrified at what is actually going on now.
Yeah.
It's terrifying. You get out into the wider world with the big record labels and the old guys in suits.
Oh God, yeah.
And you're talking money, and they don't care what their heavily paid rap stars have done. They will support them until they actually get put in prison for rape, and then they step back and suddenly, oh well, we're not associated with him. But years before, they should have dumped him then. But no, they kept allowing it to happen.
I think that is kind of the central thing, isn't it? Is trying to get people to that point where they say things as soon as they see it, because there is, I don't know, a sort of acceptance, I think, that this insidious behaviour goes on until it reaches like a crescendo where it can't continue anymore, which is what happened, I think, in the case that you're talking about. And I've definitely seen it at, you know, industry events where, you know, I can have been on a panel that day and they know what my job is and they know that I know what I'm doing, but you will still get these comments like, oi, oi, love, what are we doing? And they'll, like, you know, have their arm around you, and it's like, why do you think that my personal space can be entered like this? And it's a very odd dynamic. I don't know if you guys have this, and I hate that I do this. I sometimes catch myself, and this is when I'm really aware of how much the system has worked on me, is I'll become aware of, to use a phrase, my internalized misogyny. Because, so I will watch someone, so I've caught myself doing this with Dua Lipa, where I was like, I assume she's got loads of songwriters and producers and stuff with her, and then I watched her doing her Song Exploder and saw how, you know, in it she is, and she does work obviously with collaborators, but I was like, why do I think she isn't doing parts of this that she's doing? And I start to notice that I'm putting women down.
Because you've been trained to think like that.
Yeah.
We've all been trained to think like that. But I've always been a ranter and angry, so I don't think like that. I just think, you know, of course she's doing that, and why shouldn't you? And why shouldn't you do what you do, and why shouldn't you do what you do? I had an example at the radio station a couple of years ago. We had awful problems with the satellite dish. There was all sorts of things going on. And so I'd arranged to meet the engineer in the studio. There was a guy on air and a guy working in the office, and the engineer walked right past me into the guy in the office and said, oh, I need some decisions on what I do today. And the guys looked at me and just kind of went, that's the lady you speak to? Oh, well, has she got authority? Yeah, I have, yes, thanks. It's me that makes the decisions.
Annie Hockeysmith. She is an incredible woman in the industry down here. She is fighting for female producers. We've had talks about it before. She's an extraordinary talent. She is a label co-founder and she's just a sick performer as well. Here's Hockeysmith.
I'm now here with Ezmay Grace, who is a singer-songwriter from North Cornwall. She's a Falmouth University graduate and working on a bunch of different pieces at the moment. So hello again.
Hello, how are you?
This show is International Women's Day. It's like the special for the show. So who are some female musicians that have inspired your writing and your craft?
So I have a few big time inspirations. Joni Mitchell being number one. In terms of singing style and writing, I've been singing Joni Mitchell songs since I was 9. Kate Rusby is a huge inspiration for my writing. She comes from Barnsley, which is near where I was born in West Yorkshire. I love her folky style and kind of all the whimsy that she puts into her music. Stevie Nicks is another big one for me. Absolutely love Fleetwood Mac. Another big lady in my life is Eddie Reader from Fairground Attraction. I love her vocal, the sort of like soul and like jazzy style that she has. She's definitely inspired me. I used to sing along to Fairground Attraction with my mum in the car when I was tiny weenie. So yeah, they're definitely like the 4 big musical ladies in my life who've really inspired me with my writing and my vocal style.
Nice. You've obviously been doing music for a long time. I feel like every time I've spoken to you, you always talk about how long it's been. Kind of how's that journey been for you and what have you worked on?
I had a little bit of a musical hiatus after I left uni. I think we all go through these like weird phases as musicians, I feel, where you just don't feel like you can do anything for months, maybe even like a couple of years at a time. But you kind of just have to have faith that it's going to come back to you, and you just have to roll with it each time it does and do as much as you can until that. But I made the decision in October to quit my office job and go full-time into music and focus on my writing and getting back on the scene and doing a bit of teaching on the side as well to kind of keep me going. So yeah, it's been a pretty turbulent journey, but I'm really happy with where I am right now and where things are heading.
Final question, what's in store for 2021? Have you got any plans for any more releases? Anything we can kind of expect?
Yeah, so I'm actually sort of starting the cogs turning in the recording of an album. It'll be my debut album. I released an EP in 2017 called The Sailor's Mistress, which was a 3-part folk story, and I've taken a long time since then to really consider what I want my first album to be like, and done locally and down in the southwest. That's important to me. I love my home and we have so much talent down here, so I really want to utilise that and utilise what's around me.
Obviously you're playing for us a live track today. You're playing your track Sugar, which is coming up next. Can you tell us a bit about like the writing and what it means to you?
Yeah, it's a song sort of that I wrote after a little mini breakup in a relationship, sort of a song about being grateful that you have that person and kind of acknowledging what went wrong, but then focusing more on the fact that, hey, you know what, you are the sweetness in my life, you are what's really important to me. So yeah, the song's just kind of meant to be a positive leap out of a bad time in a relationship.
Oh, sugar, sweet little grains in my hand, I must keep you safe, won't let you slip away again. I'll keep my fingers sealed tight, and if you let me, I'll hold yours through the night. Oh, sugar, we'll be alright. Without your sweetness, the world tastes so bitter. I want you on my tongue from nightfall till the morning comes. I want you on my tongue from nightfall till the morning comes. Oh, sugar, you pep me up, you make me feel alive. And the last time that I lost you, I felt that I had died inside. Oh, sugar, I'm begging you, don't leave me here without my forbidden fruit. Without your sweetness, the world tastes so bitter. I want you on my tongue from nightfall till the morning comes. I want you on my tongue from nightfall till the morning comes. Oh, honey, a spoonful of sweetness at my lips. I'll stick to you like there was glue on my fingertips. For you are golden like sunlight, and when I'm stuck on you it feels so right. Oh honey, guilty pleasure of my life. Without your sweetness the world tastes so bitter. I want you on my tongue from nightfall till the morning comes. I want you on my tongue from nightfall till the morning comes. I want you on my tongue from nightfall till the morning comes.
I now have a female manager as well, which I really love because we know there's a bit of a gender imbalance in the industry, so it's nice to be surrounded by people like that and that kind of get it. Like, not saying that guys wouldn't get it, but there's just a bit more understanding, I think.
Hi, my name's Minko and I'm a singer, songwriter, stroke producer, and I also have a day job because music isn't the most fruitful of things, so I work in video and podcast editing as well.
I'm Kath and I am a cellist and composer and session musician, and I also run events. I run a festival called Tropical Pressure. So She Producer was formed at the start of lockdown in March 2020. I was finding overnight that my session work had dried up, so I had to really quickly get a little home studio set up in my house in Falmouth, and I panicked a bit and thought years and years and years of thinking I couldn't do anything with technology in a studio context. I'd always relied on other people to help me do it, and I thought I can't be the only person struggling with this, so I sent a questionnaire out to loads of my friends, my female friends, saying is it just me or is there a bit of an issue here that we all need to get making music and can't? And Minko was one of the friends who got back to me, which turned out to be really perfect timing.
So yeah, it was great, Kath and me coming together because we both had a sort of a shared vision with a slightly different take on it, and Kath was really keen to really learn to record on her own without having to rely on studios being open and stuff, and bring other women into that process, because she's not the only person. There are loads of women that are unsure of how to record their own sounds. And my side of the vision, which was a dream that I've had for quite a few years, is just having a community of women that record their own music and letting the world sort of be more aware of that, because when I record my music, and I have been for a number of years, I've never felt that I know anyone else struggling with the same things, or have role models even, of just even pictures of women working at it that would inspire me. So we thought if we could both train women and encourage women to learn to do this stuff, and on the other side celebrate them, photograph them, share their sounds, would be sort of both helping them and then helping other women who aren't feeling ready or do feel afraid, or even like young women who don't even see it as an option or a possible career path or anything like that. So
yeah, diversifying the industry. I mean, it's quite clear there's some very strong evidence that says there's a really big divide in the music industry, whether it's actually in studios producing and engineering music, or whether it's composers, artists represented by publishers in the UK. The imbalance is quite clear for all to see. We think on a really local level, She Producer is the kind of project that can just help raise the visibility of women making music and making their own decisions about their own music. Just to hear, to sort of know that they can also make these sounds and take control over these sounds themselves. Yeah, and why wouldn't we? Why wouldn't we want to hear all that amazing music that's in these women's heads? Yeah, I can't think of a good reason not to.
Yeah, there are some really interesting women out there making their own music, but one I particularly like is Agnes Obel, who's a Danish singer-songwriter she actually did go and study music production at college and was the only girl there, and which isn't surprising. And you know, she was a bit of an odd one out, but she didn't care, and she was really interested in the idea of, you know, creating music isn't just what you write on your guitar or your piano or sing, it's the whole process. It's how you record and how you produce it and how you arrange it. And so she just ploughed on, and she ended up winning a competition in Denmark and moving to Berlin. And she just found a space, got a piano, put it in a corridor, learned how to mic it up, and pianos are not easy to mic up, and produced this amazing album that's won loads of awards, and she's now done loads of albums. And yeah, she's just an inspiration because she just has followed her vision. She's kind of not typical of the music industry in any way at all, and she's done it all on her own. So,
yeah, inspirations. I'm really inspired by female composers at the moment who've perhaps moved from being performers, particularly on the cello, which is my own thing. So Julia Kent and Hilda, I cannot pronounce her surname, but you'll know who I mean, the Icelandic film composer. She did The Joker, she did Sicario. I can't pronounce her surname, but they're both women who've moved from perhaps a slightly more traditional female musical role of performing they're breaking into the composing, really breaking down the walls in the composing industry. And I find a lot of their sounds and how they approach film composing, and I find it really inspirational. So yeah, so to get involved with She Producer, head to our website, sheproducer.com. We're on the socials as well. We've got Instagram and Facebook accounts. But if you're a woman or you identify as a woman and you live in Cornwall, that's the specific requirement. And you can be any age, working in any genre of music. But if you've got an interest in learning how to perhaps explore what you can do with your own music in your own environment, yeah, head to the website and check it out. And we're also always on the hunt for partners and collaborators across the whole county. So yeah, head to the website, sheproducer.com.
So of course it is an International Women's Day special there, and we are hearing some proper rollicking female grungy, garagey, voodoo-inspired pop and punk from the brilliant The Eyelids, and I'm joined by Kelly and Louise on the sofa. Now guys, you are phenomenal on stage. You've got so much energy. I love seeing you at our IVW show like last year or the year before, because years have mashed into one and I don't understand time anymore. But my question is, I don't know how bands like you are doing it because you're not in the same houses. So how have you kind of found the last few months live-wise? Have you got to rehearse and have that time together?
Well, it's been tricky, hasn't it? We haven't been rehearsing because we've not been allowed to, but we did have a couple of practices to prepare for this because it was classed as professional activity. So we were like, we can get together for this. This is fine. And we've got quite a big space that we can get together in and, you know, be separate. So that felt okay.
And I love that you guys call yourselves Voodoo Garage Queens, and of course you are an all-female band who absolutely smash it out the park every time. There has been such an amazing plethora of conversations recently about trying to make, you know, gig venues a safe space both for the artists and of course for women watching. And have you always felt, I don't know, like safe and at home on the stage and owning that space?
There's been the odd one or two.
You know, apart from
the person who licked my bass.
Yeah, what happened there? Why did someone lick your bass?
Do you know, it's a vague memory because we've played a lot of gigs over the years. We've been together for how long? 13 years?
Oh my days.
And it happened in Newquay, and I don't know, someone just came up and licked it, didn't they?
Yeah, I don't know. It was probably somebody on a stag do, let's face it.
You guys have all got young families now, right? Yeah. So if you, let's say this were a normal year and you had more gigs to actually play and you could tour and stuff, how would that experience, you think, maybe be different for you now that you have those young families? I imagine it would be a lot more of a struggle getting the organisation.
It has been. I mean, we sort of staggered it as well. So over the past 8 years, basically, we've, like, you know, taken it in turns to be pregnant and so on. So, you know, like,
you go now.
Tag, you're pregnant. Okay, great.
Who called us the most fertile band in Cornwall?
I mean, you know, that's what you get when you have like 4 women in a band, isn't it? But, you know, we've all done gigs when we've been pregnant. Like, I think I did one when I was like 7.5 months. I mean, it's tricky for Michelle playing drums, but she was still like 6 months, I think.
There's a picture of me and Michelle, and one of our children, we were pregnant at the same time. So it was very unusual. And Michelle was probably 7 months pregnant, and I was 8 months pregnant, and we were playing this gig, and people were just like, they spaced out when they see us anyway because we're twins, and they were just like, what the?
If I were to ask you, you know, it is International Women's Day. I know you've listed PJ Harvey as a massive influence, but if I were to ask for, let's say, 3 full-scale queens in rock who you look at and go like, yes, they're doing it, that is who I want to be like, who would you say everyone ought to go and delve into the back catalogue of?
I would go for Anna Calvary. I absolutely adore her at the moment, I listen to her a lot.
I'm a child of the 90s, so I'm like Bjork, Tori Amos,
Ace of Base.
Ace of Base, you know, all the biggies.
I just got excited because I found out that my synth does exactly the right sound for all that she wants.
Oh my
so we
God.
were jamming that at practice last night.
Yeah, it was amazing.
We're gonna bring that only as a warm-up tune probably.
But we're gonna do it. We're gonna change it to all that she wants isn't another baby.
Yeah. It's obviously a very subtle thing when you guys are performing, and I'm sure no one has asked you about it before, but you guys are pretty known for your various face paints. What made you start wearing the face paint?
Well, I think it started off at Halloween. We sort of have always embraced the fancy dress, quite honestly.
Yes.
We did feel that we kind of got into it a little bit more when we were wearing it. So over the years, it's kind of just evolved into, you know, a simple black stripe. But it feels like we gets us ready, and like we're ready to attack a little bit more when we're wearing it.
If I were to ask you what you guys have been doing to keep sane during lockdown, everyone seems to have developed some like weird tip or trick or hobby. So I've started knitting, and I'm terrible at it.
Oh, I love knitting.
So I've made a scarf and it unravels every time I wear it. It's not the one. But have you guys developed any weird little things you love doing?
Well, we haven't developed it, but we've been doing this for about 2 years. Yeah. And we go roller skating.
Yeah, we started going skating at the roller rink and rollers in Poole.
In the actual roller rink?
We started doing that. We were just going every Friday or Saturday or something like that. Oh. And then when that shut, we were like, oh, what are we going to do? So we were skating in our houses when we were in proper lockdown the first time, and then we took it to the streets.
Yeah. Taking our skills to the streets.
Yeah. And then we started skating.
We have got skills.
Oh my God. Can you do tricks?
Yeah.
I mean,
Sharon's probably the best, actually.
Well, I'm hoping then that this is going to be the last un-roller skated performance from the Eyelids that you're ever going to see. For OBTV, a very special performance of Curated Oblivion.
You
So I have been working across various aspects of the music scene in the Southwest for like nearly 6 years now. And when I started, there weren't many women who seemed to be doing it all, especially various facets, definitely, but not everything. And I think the first woman I met who seemed to be ticking every single box and was so, so proud of doing all of it is my guest right now. She co-founded a label, she produces, she makes all of her own amazing music and has a big hand in all the videos as well. Annie Hockey Smith, how you doing?
Hi.
It seems like you have managed to be, not at all, so busy over the past like couple of years or so. I mean, I know you have big fans and I've seen interviews kind of around with you. So I wanted to see how you have found creatively, let's say the last 6 months. Let's ignore the beginning of the pandemic. How have you found the last 6 months or so?
This time last year, I was just going out to Paris
for
an adventure. I liked Paris so much and decided to go back out there. And see how it went for like a year or so. Yeah. And as soon as I got out there, I remember the day it was on the news. But
that day?
Yeah, that day, just at the end of February.
So what were you doing out in Paris then?
So I was out there just to sort of network and to, I don't know, just have a bit of an experience for the writing process as well. Just get some new inspiration. And I was working with a producer, Ed Banger, which was really cool that my manager set up for me.
That's wicked.
So we had like 3 weeks in the studio, and then I found myself in the French countryside in Burgundy.
This is what I love about you, is you do just seem to have this like intrepid, explorative spirit where I think a lot of people might see things as roadblocks and go, I can't go that way. You seem to see them as hurdles and just jump over them. Do you kind of feel like you do that?
Yeah, I just sort of went with the flow with it, and because it's all sort of just feeds into the music and just, I was really lucky, like, to have met a family that invited me to come with them and stay with them in the chateau, and there was a piano, and that was...
It was a castle?
It was a chateau.
Oh my God, that's what I mean. Landed on your feet.
I know, it was
that's
mad.
Pretty sweet.
So, but it was, in some way though, it was still really hard, kind of like, sort of not knowing what was going on and just being sort of very isolated. But, so yeah, it was up and down, but on the whole, I'm really glad that it happened because it inspired a whole new, I didn't have all my gear with me, so there was just a piano and it was very simple, and I went back to writing on the piano. And that would be kind of what the next songs are going to sound like. So
the recent release, Down Love, you dropped it in January. So how long had that been kind of brewing for? Because that was your first kind of big official release as Hockey Smith for a good while, right?
Yeah, I had a track out in August, which was the first track from my collaboration with the Ed Banger producer, who we were just working in isolation then. We finished about 5 tracks together. So we did Hypercobra in September, and that was really cool because I finally managed to come back from France in July last year.
Yeah.
I came back for the summer to Cornwall, and that's when we shot this music video, and it was just so nice coming back and seeing everyone again.
You went from idyll to idyll. You nailed 2020. That's amazing. And I wanted to ask you a bit about this kind of can do and do it all attitude that you seem to have. I mean, we've spoken before about being a female producer, and I've chatted to Inka about it as well, brilliant Inka Upendo, and she said something that I found quite interesting, which is that people still don't think that she does it all. Even when they can see her on stage, doing all the triggers and pulling it all together, they still don't believe that she does it all. Do you ever come up against that kind of disbelief in your work as a woman?
I don't really know what people think. I mean, I'm openly, I work with producers, so I'm always trying to get the sound that I want for my track, and I know that if I can't achieve that myself, then I will collaborate with someone. I'm quite relaxed about that. So, because my productions, I wouldn't say are like the finished thing. It's just getting my ideas and demos, and then I love collaborating with people. It's like something that I really enjoy, getting in the studio with someone. And like Peasy, my bandmate as well, we just, on stage, do it together, and he's doing electronic things, I'm doing it. So I wouldn't say like I'm a one-man, like one-woman show.
Yeah.
But I kind of know what my music should sound like and have a vision, and I just get the right team together to produce it. And that's why, yeah, I'm really happy with the tracks from Ed Bang, and getting the chance to work in a studio with one of their producers has been awesome.
That's sick. And if we stick with collaborations and we go like dreamscape, if you could work with like any, let's go with a woman, it's an International Women's Day special. If you could work with like any woman, could be a producer, could be an artist, who would you maybe want to collaborate with, do you reckon?
So I really like Jessie Lanza, because she's also, she produces and like does everything herself. I think that we have similar kind of styles, and that would be a really great collaboration.
Yeah, I think that could be really cool. And you know, we're all hoping proper gigs are going to be back soon. You're giving us a proper spectacle here, which I'm very grateful for. But if you could have one like big bash coming back to live performance, what do you reckon we'd be seeing on stage? Because you include so much performance and everything within it. It's like a multimedia experience.
Yeah.
What would ultimate Hockey Smith show look like?
Well, I think we're sort of inching towards it today, having Zoe like doing hula hooping, and with Alice, I feel like, you know, I really like having lots of people on stage and lots of things going on. And I think we'll just expand it. We've got this new set of new songs, so it's growing that a bit more. I also want to get better at my hula hooping as well, so I can do a bit of that myself.
Can you collaborate with the Eyelids, please? Because they roller skate, so we can have like a full amazing like Southwest scene with a circus side.
Yeah, cool. I have to admit, like that's a new skill that since coming back I've gotten more into, is the circus.
Amazing, love that. And you said you've got all these new tracks that have come together through your collabs and stuff. When are they kind of going to be released? Have you got a time frame over the next year?
Yes, it's 3 more singles hopefully before the summer, and then later on in the year I'm planning on doing like an acoustic album.
Oh, cool.
Of the tracks and some new things, yeah, including the songs that I wrote in the chateau.
Now we're all up, now we're right back. I'm alright with you. I'm back in control of the car, yeah. It's gonna be all can run through. And do the wheels stop? And I know it's a fun life. Can't be madness, but you can't be mad.
I feel like your podcast like really, I don't know, it encapsulates this feeling that seems to be increasingly prevalent. It makes me so happy, and I hope that you think this as well, Sheila, that there is, to use a rubbish phrase, a sisterhood, like within women in music, because, and it's just the same as, you know, like if you're at a bar and you see a girl who is being hit on by a guy, you go over and be like, oh my God, I've been looking for you. It feels like that same kind of, we've got each other's backs mentality, which is really, really beautiful to see. I mean, Sheila, if you could see anything, any change happen within the music industry as it is kind of currently functioning, I know you've got obviously that BBC Three doc on your mind. Is there anything in particular that you think could happen that would really help?
I think we've got to change the mindsets of the guys in the suits that are driven by profit, and that is their bottom line, it's the money. And we've got to somehow either get rid of those guys at the top and get a younger set of guys in who are more adaptable to life with women in music and are prepared to support them, rather than go, no love, go and make the tea.
Yeah.
You know, I think that's the only way that to get into the bigger world of music and to get girls out there, making the big bucks without having to sell themselves. We've got to start at the top, and I think that's going to be hard.
Yeah, I think there's a lot of change happening in like lower levels, because I think everyone's quite aware of and is talking, and on Instagram and Facebook and Twitter, it's a really big conversation, and that's definitely shifted over the last like 4 or 5 years. And it's definitely changed over a longer period of time, but it's still not fully shifted. Otherwise, the conversation still wouldn't be needing to happen. But I think it's just a case of making sure that everyone on all levels is on that similar page. And not just booking people for the sake of things. That's another thing, is that the amount of times that, and people I've spoken to about girls getting booked just because they fit the bill, because they tick the girl box. It's like, no, that's not how it works.
No.
That is such like an interesting conversation, isn't it? It's about making sure that there is representation, but that it isn't just box ticking, so you can't then undermine the women. It's like, yes, we needed more women on the lineup, but we chose them because they're amazing at what they do, and we want them on this lineup. I mean, you look at the fest lineups when you take the women out, and it's like, okay, so there's nobody left. And it's crazy to see, but you're totally right. Like, it is that tricky thing at the moment, I think, where it's taking the performative changes, which is definitely happening, as you say, like even people like us, where we're getting to talk about this, and we are being given platforms to talk about it, and then making it that kind of industry-wide change, which you're seeing in Hollywood, but maybe less in music. It's tricky.
And actually that's the problem as well, because it's not just in music, it is across the board, sadly. You know, whatever arts particularly you look at, unless the women get up and do it for themselves and you know, form feminine theatre companies and all that kind of thing, they're fighting the same fight as women in music.
It feels
all
like
the time.
It feels like it has to be like a counter petition. Like, it can't just be interspersed. It like has to be almost like its own revolt in itself that goes against like this other industry. It's like making its own thing in itself, because we have to be listened to, so we have to take a stand. That's how it feels.
It's a revolt.
It feels like
revolution.
And it's great because the younger women, like you girls, aren't afraid to stand up and go, hey, we're not having that anymore. We're not doing this anymore that way. We want it done our way. And it's going to be fair.
That's because of people like you, Sheila. It's because you've been fighting the good fight for
a long time.
Yeah, exactly.
I think there's hope. There is hope. And things have changed. But everybody should watch that BBC Three documentary. It was quite horrifying.
But that's the point of International Women's Day, isn't it? Is that we get to have these conversations and use it as a marker to, I suppose, check progress every year and see how we're doing. And I know we've like wiped 2020 off, but like, it felt like a good year last year for opening up conversations and for people working like that. So, so if we were to be nice and positive for a minute, because as we say, there have been good changes. Let's shout out some women in the industry, be that behind the scenes, on the stage, that we love and think are amazing. So off the top of my head, you know, someone who I think is amazing and really inspiring, and who speaks out about stuff and doesn't change the way she looks to fit, you know, expected I don't know, measurements, etc., is Annie Mac. She's a label head. She supports brand new music. She is incredibly eloquent. She talks about her family and is proud to be a mum who is working and doing all of this amazing stuff, and a woman who is growing older gracefully as well, which is why she's done her podcast Changes. And I think she is a wonderful kind of role model in terms of being a woman. Just as a person, she just seems very kind and lovely, and I wonder if there's anyone like that for you guys you want to shout out.
For me, if we're talking about women who are amazing and older, as I'm older, I've got to go for somebody older, it's Annie Nightingale.
Yes.
She is just a legend, absolute legend, and has been for many, many years. She's kicked ass for a long time.
I think she just celebrated like 60 years with Radio 1.
Yeah.
Crazy.
Amazing, amazing lady. And they tried shoving her onto the, you know, the horrible midnight shift that they thought the fans wouldn't go with her, but damn me, they did. And she's out there, she does all the festivals, and I've seen her, you know, sort of 5 years ago. She's still living it large.
She's so cool.
Amazing, yeah.
Yeah.
So Annie Nightingale.
Anyone not called Annie?
No one called Annie. I was actually going to talk about Lindsay Melbourne, who's a photographer. She used to shoot for Idols and she's done a bunch of stuff over her career. She's a mum as well. She's really cool. We met shooting at Latitude Festival in 2019. I've always looked up to her because I think her photo style, she got into it a lot later than a lot of photographers. She got into it like more into her mid to late 20s because she was in a band and realised that they weren't gonna take off, and she thought, I still want to be behind the scenes but I don't know how, so she picked up a camera and started doing that instead. Made friends with Idols at the very beginning of their career and kind of just went with them. She's done some amazing things, and she is the founder of AF Gang, which is kind of the hub of all Idols fans, and yeah, she's a wonderful, wonderful lady.
It's so cool, I think, seeing women who are hopping around different arenas of the industry as well.
Yeah.
It does seem like once your foot's in the door and once you know people and you found your people as well, which does seem to be really important, who are going to like support you, you can just step into anything within music. And I don't know if you guys have found this, but while I've been working in it, it really has felt like a very small, almost cottage industry. Like you go to big kind of conference events and it's like, hang on, I saw you like last week over there, and you end up realising you know everyone.
Yeah.
And I know we've said a lot of negative things, but overall, it does feel like a really positive, welcoming place, I think.
Yeah. And I think it's what you make of it as well, and just making sure that you're filling your personal space with good people, and ensuring that you call out when something isn't okay, and just making sure that the conversations remain positive and that you're supporting other women as well and non-binary artists, and I think making sure that you're giving the support back into those communities, I think, is really important, and helping others who are younger trying to grow into their own careers is like really cool to see, and also like helps the whole cycle all over again.
Yeah.
I think as well, if you want to be in the business, whatever aspect, whether you want to be behind the scenes or behind the lens or actually front of stage and giving it hell, you have to be able to do the job. And you've still got to be able to do it better than men. Whatever anybody says, you still got to do it better than men. But you've got to have that passion as well and be absolutely driven and know where you want to go and go there.
I think the music industry is quite fairly well balanced. I mean, the majority of songwriters that I've worked with are women.
Amazing.
Which is what I think I feel most comfortable writing with women anyway, because they get what I'm feeling, you know? Go females!
want a body that say so much more than words could ever try. And they make me sigh. Oh, they make me cry. They could even make me want to drop down and die. But I have loved those lies. I have loved those lies. Beautiful, oh beautiful or broken. It all depends on which way you look at it from. With eyes veiled by roses, or from within looking out. It could make me want to scream. It could make me want to shout. It could make me want to shake you to get your demons out. But I leave you in your boat in the middle of your ocean where no other vessels float, and I'll swim, I'll swim until my arms give in, till my arms give in, or until I'm all alone.
Thank you so much for joining us for tonight's special of OBTV. As always, if you give us a like on Facebook and follow us on Instagram to see what we're getting up to.
And we're going to end on a beautiful performance in, again, a female powerhouse style, what it's all been about tonight. Make sure you go and check out all of these artists, because if you haven't already, you're going to fall in love with this. Rounding us out on our IWD OBTV special, Hockey Smith.
Haunted eyes, what are you watching for? Deeply west. Take me home when you know about the trash. Oh, I'm so into you, boy. Watch out, who's loving you? What's gonna hear me say? I need to say goodbye, because I'm on edge, glimpsing through your eyes. I'll shut down the screen for life, for you just to hide behind. Analyze the words of love, you fill in the holes with all the facts. Spit out the chaos, it's all on me with the sense of humor. I'm ready.